Alright, thank you for watching. I've got 43 minutes on the memory card. I think that will be enough for me to talk about a new Kent Hovind debate series I've seen. It was on the Non Sequitur YouTube channel. They were the hosts and moderators of the debate between Kent Hovind and King Crocaduck. There were 3 of these debates, and I'm going to try to summarize them. Not tell you what I saw for 3.5 hours times 3 would be 4.5 hours of watching. Kent Hovind held his own here. Kent Hovind understood the scientific concepts that were being talked about and was never, painted into a corner metaphorically, or never cornered by King Crocaduck. King Crocaduck demonstrated a strong bigotry or hatred against religious people. So, King Crocaduck wanted these debates to focus more on his specialty. He is a physicist or biological physicist. So he didn't talk about the most common subject that Kent Hovind talks about, which is, do all animals have one common ancestor? And King Crocaduck, as many people do, falsely accused Kent Hovind and people who believe in God and don't buy the current Big Bang theory of being against science and anti-science. Kent Hovind likes to say sometimes, in an honest court of law, this or that wouldn't count for evidence. And that's a reasonable thing to say. King Crocaduck tried to denounce using court analogies, and he failed. The goal of courts is to find out what happened. It should be. Proof is proof anywhere. In a classroom, walking down the street, in a courtroom. The concept of what proof is the same everywhere. So, talking about what should and shouldn't work in a court of law is legitimate. King Crocaduck, he tried to denounce the court analogy, or, talking about evidence, using the same word evidence that we would use in court, and he did not make a convincing case. Just because in court 2 lawyers are supposed to be able to argue either side, what does that have to do with what's proof and what isn't proof? Absolutely nothing. Proof is still proof. And a scientist, if they're thorough, should know what the arguments are against a theory. At least the intellectual arguments by, scientists that aren't buying into a theory. So Kent Hovind has pointed out that that creationists and evolutionists are looking at the same evidence and coming to different conclusions. King Crocaduck denounced that. And you said you're acting like a lawyer if you say that. No, that's just the honest truth. Creationists are looking at the same Grand Canyon. King Crocaduck is... Oh, wow. Oh. We're looking at the same Grand Canyon. There's not a creationist out there with a big following saying there's no Grand Canyon, no rock layers, no fossils. We're looking at the same stuff. It's not unscientific. It's a fact that the same stuff is there. And you're not being a lawyer if you in fact, Kent Hovind is being kind to people whose religion is secular humanism. That's what evolutionism is, the creation story of that religion, secular humanism. He's being kind to them by acknowledging, hey, they are looking at something that's actually there. Yeah, Kent Hovind frequently says he wants to stick to one topic at a time. He brought that up again. But one thing that Kent Hovind pointed out that King Crocaduck denounced is we all have a worldview, a starting point we're looking at. That's not unscientific to acknowledge that people have that. It's not unscientific if you see if the facts can fit into what you were already thinking. What is unscientific is sticking with a story when the facts don't match up with your story, and that's what evolutionists do frequently. King Crocaduck falsely accused Kent Hovind of not accepting a scientific model and being anti-science. Yep, Kent Hovind pointed out we all have a priori biases. They talked about Hubble's constant and the redshift and what that means, and Kent Hovind understood all of the science behind it and correctly pointed out where there are some assumptions being made. King Crocaduck invented a new verb, Hovinding. Hovinding is when you get cornered in a debate and you say, the physics were different in the past. But Kent Hovind never got cornered. He was talking about the scientific stuff, understanding it, and coming to reasonable conclusions about it. Okay, King Crocaduck, the absurd statement that the stars are getting further apart, but they're not moving. The space in between them is expanding, but they're not moving. That is, wow, no, if they're further apart, they had to move to get there. And King Crocaduck claimed that we can know about how far, there's a limit to how fast something can be moving away from us and us still see it. How can you test that? As long as there's light coming off of something, we should be able to see it, but that's a very unprovable theory, and if science is things that are testable and provable, then that's unscientific. Alright. See, that's my thoughts on debate 1. Debate 2. Kent Hovind has these broken down evolutionism into 6 stages or levels. There's cosmic, the Big Bang, banging. Yeah, Kent Hovind's a big banger. He doesn't believe the steady state. He just says God did it. But okay. Chemical evolution, all the different elements have to come out of something, and that's those chemicals coming together. Stellar, when planets and solar systems and stars form. Organic, when the first life came into being. Macro, all life becoming that we have now coming from one single celled organism. Microevolution, which shouldn't be called evolution, but people bring it up and say, see, evolution happens. Okay, what you pointed to really does happen, but it's microevolution. Microevolution is speciation. It's how we get a chihuahua out of a wolf. Yeah, a chihuahua, it's still a dog. It's not a fish out of a wolf. Alright. King Crocaduck pointed out the Schroeder equation is evolving. Which one of those levels of evolution is that, or is that a 7th level of evolution? That was stupid or dishonest of King Crocaduck. The word evolution just by itself means to change, and change slowly. So the word evolution can be used outside of the definition or meaning of the creation of the universe, or how things in the universe came to be, and it doesn't have to be fit in with, those things. One fallacy King Crocaduck said, we wouldn't be able to talk if these theories that he has about the Big Bang and background cosmic radiation and the redshift of the stars, we wouldn't be able to talk if those weren't true. By that he doesn't mean their vocal cords working, but the technology, because this was a online debate. All 3 participants, the 2 debaters and the moderator, were I don't know how close they were. They were at a computer somewhere, not in the same room, and doing the debate. But, wow, that's dishonest or stupid to not see the difference between billions of years ago, trillions of years ago. We know what happened. This is how that star formed trillions of years ago. This is how things started trillions of years ago. And, okay, this kind of metal lets this much electricity through. This kind of metal sends off this radio signal frequency. How can you not see the difference between science, what's actually science, and historic philosophy? Or if we're going to use the word science, because I really want to use that word, historic science. There's a difference. King Crocaduck was dishonest about whether he religiously believes what he believes. No, it's not religion. Yes, it is. And Kent Hovind pointed that out. Somebody asked Kent a question about heat produced by carving of the Grand Canyon. Not sure if there be enough heat from that to, what were they trying to say? That it couldn't have happened the way Kent Hovind says because it would have melted the earth? But here, Kent Hovind engaged in actual science. There is good evidence that there was once a huge lake covering most of or big parts of what we now call Utah and Colorado. And the way the Grand Canyon was formed is the natural dam creating that lake broke and then all the water rushed out. That was science, looking at the evidence of where that lake was. That's good historical science. King Crocaduck tried to refute the flood, but wow, he was so lacking. There's actually good geological evidence of the flood, and Kent's pointed that out before. King Crocaduck said something extremely stupid or dishonest about trying to figure out what the kinds of animals are. Because kind is the way it's translated into English, the word in Genesis that describes the different kinds of animals. It's the Hebrew word min, and that word it matters, I guess, because it's not the same as the word species. So if somebody wants to claim that Noah's Ark is an implausible story, they could, I guess, if they could prove that there's no way the amount of animals needed to get all the life we have on Earth could have gotten on the Ark. And so how many kinds of animals are they counting when they're getting the animals on the Ark? But he asked Kent Hovind if Kent and his wife could bring forth kids. And we're talking about two old people. A lot of old people can't have kids anymore. Well, then you're not the same kind of animal. King Crocaduck really did say that. That two old people who can't have kids anymore are not the same kind of animal because they can't bring forth, because Kent's definition of kind was if they can bring forth together, if they create life together, they're the same kind. That's stupid or dishonest. People not being able to have kids because they're old does not mean that they're of a different category, that they couldn't have kids. They could have had kids younger. It's one thing Kent Hovind was wrong about here, you'll get to hear me talk about this again soon. I'm working on my list of things that Kent Hovind gets wrong. I don't want you to think that that Kent Hovind's right about things, because he's right about some things and I like to watch him. And so that video's coming. But Jesus never said the creation of Adam was the beginning of everything. That verse Kent Hovind is talking about is Jesus was asked a question about marriage by some people who didn't believe that the thing they were asking was possible. The Sadducees believed there was going to be no resurrection of the dead, and asked Jesus a question about something happening in the resurrection. And Jesus said, in the beginning, that God created a male and female. Therefore, let's set the verse that says, what God hath put together, let no man break asunder. But obviously, it's not talking about the beginning of everything. Just the beginning of marriage. They were talking about marriage, the beginning of marriage, or the beginning of humanity. Not the beginning of everything. Alright, King Crocaduck liked to use the word ad hoc as an attack or an insult. That's ad hoc. They're doing ad hoc. He's ridiculous. It's not ad hoc if you look at the scientific facts and you draw conclusions from them. Like, dogs produce dogs. That's one of Kent Hovind's points. Macroevolution has never been witnessed. We always see animals make the same kind of animal. And dogs always produce dogs. That's not ad hoc unscientific. That's a legitimate point to make. King Crocaduck likes to accuse people of acting like lawyers and using the word ad hoc. And he proved his irrational hatred when he was saying there's this facts about the Big Bang cosmology, or the planets coming up, the galaxies being further apart, and he was very angry that creationists, would jump on the hard work that the scientists were doing when they say, oh, hey, the Bible has this verse that says God stretched out the heavens, and this scientific discovery backs that up. King Crocaduck is being ridiculous. If you're looking for the truth, you should not complain about anyone else looking for the truth you found and saying, oh, hey, that's nice. That fits in with this book I've got. I promise to never do that. Get mad at somebody who looks at a scientific fact I've discovered. I don't do a lot of scientific research, so it's not likely, but if I get a big, weird, bizarre break and stumble across some scientific fact, even though my 9-to-5 job is not being a scientist, I will not complain if people use that. In fact, it's respectable to look at scientific facts. King Crocaduck, if he weren't an absolute butthead, if you would accept people and appreciate people looking at scientific facts and not say, hey, those are our facts, those are our facts. Hard-earned scientific success is what he said, yeah. One of the things that Kent Hovind did was went to a magazine named Cosmology Magazine to see what the cosmology, science about cosmology is, and King Crocaduck denounced him looking at the magazine. Alright, do you want him to be scientific and learn, or do you not want him to? King Crocaduck refuses to accept people who he has this hatred for engaging in science. Tough luck. People who believe there's a God are going to look at things, including Cosmology Magazine and other scientific literature. Last note I have here, dark energy and dark matter. King Crocaduck claimed they're two different things. I haven't looked into that deeply, but since King Crocaduck said so many other illogical things, he was probably wrong about this one too. But he claimed it's scientific, we know about it. No, actually, here's my best of my knowledge about dark matter and dark energy is they had to postulate that because the evidence, as telescopes improved and we get a better idea of where the stars are, that evidence was not matching up with the scientific theory of Big Bang and the rates that they calculated and expected out of the Big Bang. Dark matter and dark energy are not really firmly proven scientific facts. So, thank you for watching, and you have a good day.